Hi guys, my name is Marta Garcia and I'm presenting my AP Computer Science STEM Fair project. I wanted to do a small overview before I get started. My project is based off of a little mini game that I created in sophomore year. Basically this game is just trying to get to the other side and try to get through the levels. This game was written in Java on Scratch. I chose this language because it was the easiest one for me to work with at the time. And it was all that I knew. Okay, continue. So basically, this project is a game. The game is for a player to complete the game by collecting all the coins and trying to get to the other side without getting sent back to the start. If the player gets sent back to the start, he has to go through the game again until he can reach to the end. Some of the techniques that were used in this game were if statements, which helped create the game by predicting what the person would do if they went one way or if they went another. Another was while loops or loops. We used loops because loops were one that kept everything going constantly throughout the game, and it helped us when we had things that were going to be continuously going on to the next level. Here I'm going to show you guys a video of the game running, and then after that I will show you guys the code. Okay, here you can see the character right here is trying to get to the other side, and you have to collect the coins as you go. Once the character hits the ghost, it gets sent back to the start and has to try all over again to try to get to the other side. Okay, once the character gets to the other side, the backdrop will switch. There's more ghosts moving at different directions, different places, and still has to collect the coins, and he still has to try to get to the other side. And basically progresses as it gets on to the next level. I wanted to demonstrate the code for you guys. This is the code for the backdrops. For the bowls that you guys saw, the little brown bowls, once the game is started, they each have a certain position that they go to, and then once the level switches, it'll switch the backdrop that it's aligned with, and it has a different place to go to, and same for the last one. Okay, now for this first part, I wanted to show you guys the ghost code. The ghosts are the ones that are moving up and down, side to side. Once the backdrops switch, or once the game has started, they have a certain position to start off. And then we used a forever statement where they went from one side to another. And then we used if the ghost is touching, then it'll go back. Another one that we used is a loop statement where once again it will glide one way if it goes to another. If not, it'll go back to the start. The second one that we used are the coin code. The coin code is a code that we use for the coins. Once collected, it will hide. We use the forever loop. Once it's touching, if the character touches the coin, it'll disappear and it'll change the score by 1. And then once again, if it changes to the next level, it'll hide once the character hits the coin, and then it'll change the score by 1. The last code that we did was the code for the panda. The panda once it has a complicated code, but once the game has started, it'll start moving up and down. It's changing its speed by 1, and then once the game is started, the score is set to 0, and then it'll go to the certain coordinates that we placed, and then we did a forever statement, and inside that forever statement, we did an if statement. If touching bowl 3, then the backdrop switched, or if the down key is pressed when trying to move to the sides, switch positions, and then if right key is pressed, then go to this certain location and change X by 7 points, and then this is the second half over here. If the up key is pressed, then if Y position is switched by certain points, and then it continues on for left key, and then if it touches the ghost, it all starts back at the beginning. And then back over here for when the backdrop switches, it's much shorter, and then we just switch it to if it goes from one position, it goes to another. If it touches the ghost, it goes back to the beginning, and if it touches the bowl, then the backdrop will switch. Now I wanted to talk more about the project. Some of the strengths that were in this project was actually having people helping me. Mainly at the time, it usually seems like help shouldn't be there when you're trying to create a game, but it's mainly helpful when you're doing this on your own. Um, okay. What I believe I did well in is creating a game for the first time and actually having it succeed. Because at the time, I didn't believe in myself, and the game was struggling a lot at the beginning because codes weren't working. I didn't know what we were supposed to do, this and that. Okay. Some of the problems that we had with the code. Once again, the code was wrong. You would have to go through each line of code trying to figure out what was wrong. You had to run it through the game to see what would happen, see where we went wrong. And it would be the same for all the other characters, especially when the backdrop switched, the coins, the ghosts, everything was complicated. You had to keep everything in line, which kind of felt difficult at the time. Things I would do differently for myself is if I could redo this project, I would apply the skills that I know now and use those instead of what I had already learned at the time, because I feel with the skills that I know now will help improve the project. Okay, some of the most important things that I've learned is to trust the process. Things may take time and it may seem like forever that's happening, but to trust the process and make sure you take your time on everything, review everything deeply and one by one. My greatest strengths were actually having a chance to deal with the project all on my own and having everything be reviewed by somebody else who knew what he was actually doing. My greatest areas for improvements, though, those are things to learn to do in timely manner. If I do something, I want to set it for a certain time and keep it within that time area. If not, and then I feel like everything would be a mess. The most challenging thing for me were dealing with the biggest projects that were done by myself and only checked by a teacher. For me, the projects that were done by myself, I feel like I needed to be with somebody else so I could exchange ideas with them, so I can have somebody else to talk to, and just have somebody there to help me out. Because if I did it by myself, I felt that I was doing everything wrong. I needed to constantly check with the teachers, and I felt as if I just was doing everything in the wrong way, and just I needed somebody else to be there. I feel like I would use these skills that I've learned in the future by applying them everywhere, basically. If I still continue on in coding, I will use the skills that I've learned. I will continue to learn those throughout the years. And I feel like the skills that I've developed mentally, learning how to code, will help improve my life later, especially when dealing with other situations. All right, thank you guys. That's it.